Does overall actually matter in SmackDown vs. Raw? To answer that question, I'm going to compare the strategies used, significant differences, and times of both runs. I don't really feel these two runs are as easy to judge as the ones from Here Comes the Pain, but I'll do my best to give a clear answer. First off, let's talk about the strategies used. Unlike Here Comes the Pain, we weren't able to use separate strategies to secure the best times for both runs. We had to rely heavily on the turnbuckle strat, and I attribute that to the crazy amount of damage throwing the opponent into it does. There's also the fact that it takes less time to throw them into the corner than performing most moves. Not to mention there being no tables at ringside for a table trick, and if you remember the Here Comes the Pain runs, that was the fastest one. Now if you weren't convinced the turnbuckle strat was undoubtedly the best choice for this game, I have two matches to help you understand why I said that. This match from the minimum overall run is the greatest piece of evidence I have. Since the rule for completing the run was that it had to be played on legend difficulty, there would usually be a ton of reversing. However, that doesn't seem to happen here at all, for whatever reason. And if you think the match was quick just because of that, then you've never played this game with 26 overall, now have you? Anyways, the match ended up taking 1 minute and 10 seconds, but 20 of those were spent getting beaten down, while the other 50 were devoted to winning as quickly as possible. The next example is from the maximum overall run, and it's going to demonstrate how much longer it took to put Jindrak away when the focus was on performing more moves. Keep in mind that RVD's max strength is 7 out of 10, which, I mean, it's good enough to get the job done, but not in a very fast time, if we're being honest. This match was actually more of what I expected from that run if the turnbuckle was used less frequently. You can clearly see there was more reversing, and the moves took a little bit more time to do than just throwing them into the corner. I also don't believe the damage was even close to being near the previous example. The match took 4 minutes and 19 seconds and was not really that bad at all. And yes, there were other moves that would have either done more damage, saved time, or even both. However, no one is really going to know all the right moves to deal damage and save time unless they were dedicated to speedrunning this game, which I'm not. Either way, with those examples, I think we can agree the corner strat was far more superior than anything RVD could have done on his own. Next, let's talk about the significant differences between each run. What do I mean by significant difference? I consider it to be a match or matches that take a long ass time and there's really nothing that can be done about it. Don't think that means I'll be looking at every last man standing, ultimate submission, and other matches like those. I'm just going to be looking at the two big time stealers, the Royal Rumble matches. Since there were no Rumble matches in the maximum overall run because RVD was champion, the minimum overall run will be focused on for this one. It had an alarming 2 Royal Rumbles. The 15-man one was for Stacy's contract and it took 30 minutes and 58 seconds. And the 30-man one for the number one contender for the top title took 25 minutes. Yeah, I know. Just hearing myself say those times out loud was enough to make even me cringe. Now, I won't complain too much because I already know that it wasn't necessary to try to win Stacy's contract, but I really wanted to do it for the sake of the video. On a side note, the actual reason it took so long to complete was because it took multiple attempts. I wasn't planning on revealing that piece of information, but for the sake of this analysis, I think it's necessary. However, the other Rumble was mandatory to complete the challenge, and the only reason I'm even pointing it out is because it was found in one run and not the other. Plus, it added a decent amount of time to the minimum run. And finally, let's go a bit further in depth about the times we went over at the end of the last video. If you forgot, here's a similar chart to refresh your memory. The only difference is the green words in the upper left corner. Despite that, just focus on the 2 times in the last column, the average time and the bell-to-bell time. Now that the times are fresh in your mind, I want to continue by addressing the nearly 31 minutes we lost during the minimum overall run with the first Rumble. This is the first take of the 15-man Rumble, and if we went with it, the match would have ended after 1 minute and 35 seconds, saving us 29 minutes and 23 seconds. Now that's a huge amount of time saved, right? Yeah, it's because it took more than 10 attempts to win the Rumble. For anyone expecting to see a fail montage, no, I'm not showing it. I want to keep what little bit of pride and dignity I have left. Now if we replace the 30 minute and 58 second time with the 1 minute and 53 second time during the calculations, that would have made the average time of the minimum run 5 minutes and 20 seconds. The bell-to-bell time would have been 2 hours, 40 minutes and 2 seconds, and the overall time would have been 4 hours, 1 minute and 20 seconds. Ultimately, that would have meant the maximum run's average time would have been just 16 seconds faster. The bell-to-bell time would have been only 2 minutes and 58 seconds faster, and the overall time would have been 31 minutes and 1 second faster. That is a huge difference from the official times, and it might not be a smart idea, but I'm going to use those as a metric to answer the question, because if both runs were identical, except for the overall, I strongly believe the completion times would have been very similar, if not the exact same. Therefore, if the question is, does overall even matter in SmackDown vs. Raw? The clear answer is no. There's no question that the turnbuckle strat is the fastest way to win in this game, and the damage from being thrown into the corner doesn't seem to have anything to do with any attributes or overall. Now, if I still haven't convinced you, the next time you play this game, go to season mode, select your favorite character, switch to 26 overall, and throw your opponents into the turnbuckle as much as possible. Then, try to win a match without doing that, and you'll see the difference. With that said, I'm Dragon DDT, and I hope you enjoyed this trip through SmackDown vs. Raw. If you already knew the corner strat was the fastest way to beat this game, or just learned that it was, let me know about it in the comments below, and if you refuse to believe me, even after trying it yourself, thank you for your time, and I hope you got a little bit more out of the game because of this. Now it's time for me to think about where to go from here. Well, if you're interested in finding out where that is, then join me next time.